Welcome everybody. As you come in, you are muted, so we want you to remain muted unless you're actually speaking. So Bond will be performing. We'll be doing a Q&A. So during that time, please be sure to mute yourself. If not, we have Mike LaJoy in Seattle who will be handling the muting duties.
I've got my mute shirt on.
Yes.
And then there's a chat discussion. I've posted in there how you could raise your hand virtually, which that's the easiest way for us to get a queue going for the question and answer. Don't be shy about asking questions. I've noticed in the past, a lot of times people wait, and as our queues fill up, their questions end up being asked, and then they end up asking something completely off of the top of their head. So if you have a very good question that you'd like to ask yourself, be sure to raise your virtual hand when you get that opportunity. I'd like to introduce our lovely co-host today, Atusa, and it's a huge privilege and an honor to have Bon on our Depeche Mode Global Drinking Chat. So Atusa, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, I'm so excited for this event. I've been a Nights Ebb fan since I was really young. Well, I was 10 years old. When they brought out Showtime and Violator, my whole life changed, kind of dictated how I was going to be a musician at a young age. And I thought it would be really special to have Bon here with us today. I've recently really fallen in love with songs from the Lemon Tree, and hopefully some of you watched that last night or today. Oh, I'm so excited, you guys.
Yes, fabulous.
So Bon, I think you're muted, Bon.
Yeah, Bon, you're muted.
Bon,
Hopefully Mike didn't mute you again.
Is that your fault, Mike?
What do you mean again?
Not again. That's all right. And you know what? I'm going to open up the right now. We have a waiting room, but I'm just going to completely open it so people will come in. If we need to boot anyone, we'll boot anyone. But hopefully that's not the case. If you're watching on Facebook Live and you want to come join us, I've posted the Zoom information there. So if you want to interact directly with Bon, your opportunity is now to come onto Zoom.
Am I there?
Oh,
Yes,
we can hear you now.
Whee! Thanks, Mike.
You are clear.
Mike's. You see, Mike's on it. Mike's so on it. He's
I'm on something.
he's muted everybody. Good for him. Good for you, Mike.
Thank you so much, Bon, for joining us today. We've got so many of your fans here already. Such a huge group. Thank you so much for doing the Lemon Tree last night. That was really very good. I have some of my own few favorites, but yes, would you like to talk about the whole Lemon Tree and how that came about?
Basically throughout the process of touring with Nights Ebb last year, 2019, people kept asking why I wasn't singing an encore like Let Beauty Loose or something like that, including the rest of the band. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do it in such an obvious way. I kind of want to work on a version that's a little bit different, people that haven't heard, and maybe do things in a different way. And I'd been thinking about getting back to singing for a while. And as I was saying earlier, actually, I normally tap dance around backstage and sing to myself. And Daniel Meyer actually said to me one time, he's like, well, that sounded really nice. And I was like, yeah, whatever, shut up, because we're always making fun of each other. But he was like, no, I'm serious. I think that sounds, he said, I think you've got a really nice voice and you should use it more. So, and I'd been kind of thinking about it myself. So when the lockdown happened, I was just sort of practicing really and wandering around my garden. And I thought, well, that sound not quite nice. I'll just post them. It might cheer people up seeing this lemon tree in the California sunshine, because it was, March, whatever it was, when we got locked down, end of February, March. And the response was really amazing, actually. People seemed to find it quite soothing. And I got various questions like, could you sing the entire, because I was just singing little snippets. So people were like, could you sing the entire song, or could you do an electronic version? And and then one of our dear special friends said, you should do songs from the lemon tree. So I was like, all right, I'll do songs from the lemon tree. And so that's where it came about, you know, all these suggestions to do full songs, to do electronic versions, and to do them from the lemon tree. And yeah, I was lucky to have that resource, you know, to be able to do it out in the garden and have a crew that could come over, and we could all stay distanced because the garden's big enough, so we didn't have to get within 6 feet of each other, and we could wear masks. Well, I obviously couldn't wear a mask when I was singing, but nobody was allowed to stand near me while I was doing it. So so yeah, it just, you know, it was completely unplanned, and it just, you know, snowballed or lemon dropped from there, you know. So it just built and built, really.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Maybe in a little bit, Rob could play one of our personal favorites from one of the
Alright.
lemon trees.
That would be marvelous.
And I do have that queued up. So if you do want to hear it now, but before we get into that real quick, Bon, since this is a drinking chat, we always have our guests pick a word that whenever someone says that word, everyone drinks. So as our guest, we'd like you to select a word for everyone to drink to.
Shostakovich.
Oh, come on.
Is that
I guess
even
we're
a
not drinking
word?
today, huh?
Yes, it's a dry chat. It's a dry
Take
chat.
that again, please. I didn't understand.
Right. Wasp. Every time I
Wasp.
say wasp.
Ebhead.
it is.
All right, Ebhead. Shit. We've had a request. Ebhead. There you
All
go.
right. We're doing Ebhead then.
All right, Ebhead.
Cheers.
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 I do think that Ebhead will come up more frequently than Wasp. So I think that's a good
I actually had a question about wasp, so
Go for it. Go
Wow.
ahead.
I used one on Ebhead.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
I'm
I
gonna share that real quick if you guys
Yes.
agree. All right, here, let me go ahead and share that.
There we go.
Sound okay?
yes.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Running through my head secretly, the shout of the boys in the factory. I ring you on the telephone silently, like blood, a wine in the dark room scene. Dark room scene, dark room scene, dark room scene, dark room scene. A letter once composed, 7 years long and as tall as a tree. Reading on the wall, emissions, efficiency, 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 efficiency. Resurrect as a feeling on my window of a past reunion. on my window of a past reunion. Resurrect as a feeling on my window of a past reunion. Visions of a picture like the city, the air we breathe. Air we breathe. Air we breathe. Air we the air we breathe, the air we breathe, the air we breathe.
And please feel free to unmute yourselves to give a round of applause.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow,
that was amazing.
So good.
It's so good. It gave me chills.
Really great.
Ephead for sure.
Beautiful.
Ed.
I
Ebhead,
needed
and,
that.
and to let you know, we've already set a new record for the most people on a Zoom chat.
I know.
Hurrah.
Okay.
One that we had just set last week, actually, with Gareth Jones. So
Dear Gareth.
pretty amazing.
Yes.
Gareth.
So as Bond performs every song, feel free again to unmute yourselves when he is done to applaud. So just letting you know.
But then remute yourself so I don't have to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You're talking individual responsibility there. That could get tricky.
I think it would be nice right now if we could open up to a tiny little Q&A just if anyone has any questions on Lemon Tree because of what we just saw. If anyone's got any questions on Lemon Tree, you can raise your hand or type it in the text. I see some coming up. The ones that I see coming up, I'm just going to call on if that's all right.
Sure, go for it.
Joari.
Okay, Yuri.
Yuri. Thank you.
Yuri,
Thank
yes,
you.
like,
Yuri.
It's a Russian name, but you can call me Joe if you want.
I'll
Whatever.
call you Yuri. I'll call you Yuri.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Bond. Cheers, mate. I was really surprised the first time I saw that, and I was like, "What was that?" I didn't expect anything like that, and I was completely like blown away. You know, that was awesome. But it's a stupid question. Why exactly did you choose that song from the Depeche Catalogue? Because there's a big range of songs.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, a friend of mine, Chris Piper back in Chelmsford, used to make me mixtapes when I couldn't afford to buy records. And that was on one of the mixtapes. So there were a few Depeche songs that I had access to. And so, you know, that one was one of the ones that I was first introduced to. But also with Depeche songs, it's kind of like, I mean, with any of these songs on the Lemon Tree, it's kind of a big responsibility to pick a classic, and you know, it's a lot of work. And so I didn't feel completely comfortable taking on one of the really, really popular ones, you know. And I kind of always liked that idea of finding the hidden gems, and it always struck me as such a beautiful song, in a strange way, you know. That I kind of wanted to find the lesser known ones and kind of shine a light on those a little bit more, if you know what I mean. And
Okay.
It wasn't a stupid question. That was a very good question.
Yeah, you know why I asked that one is because there are a variety of covers from Ice Machine, even put on record, even like Royce
Yeah.
Up also did it, and this one stood out, which I didn't thought it was possible to keep it that mellow, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So that was
yeah. With a lot of stuff, you know, like I tend not to really listen to much before I create music, including albums. You know, like I'll do a real period of intense listening a couple of months before making music, but then I stop so that I'm not directly influenced by anyone else's version, for one. And then also versions like that version of Ice Machine, you don't block your subconscious with all this noise. We were talking just before I came on. It was like I knew I wanted to do that track, so I listened a couple of times to the original to write the words down and what the chord changes were. And then I just kind of switched off and just shut my eyes and started working, and that feeling came almost immediately, you know. So it was just like it was a very natural thing to do it. And yeah, I was a bit surprised at how sort of slow and trip hoppy it was, but I knew that there was such a nice song in there. Like, this the thing with any of these Lemon Tree songs, they're so well written that they can stand a variety of treatments. You know, you can practically do anything to them, and that's always the sign of an excellently written song, you know.
well, it's a lovely tune. I say, Ephead, cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you for the question.
Oh, great. Next question coming from Psycho Jones from Germany.
Psycho.
Hello, hello, everyone. Good to see you. And really great performance again. I really love the song. So good. And I mean, in the end with Diana Ross, you're really kicking in it. It's so good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for this. And this really are, yeah, weird times to see something like this. My question is maybe the question of everyone. I think I heard or I read something that you want to release the sessions in a while. Are there any certain plans about it, or do you need help from the group? Maybe like a crowdfunding or something. We are really keen to help you, I think, to bring it to the market if you want.
Yeah, I definitely do want to do it. I'm sort of debating at the moment, and it's probably, as I was saying earlier, you know, I didn't plan any of this. It sort of has just carried on rolling. So, you know, in anti-modern music marketing parlance, you know, I'm at least one step behind the curve the whole time on what I'm doing here. So yeah, I do want to release it, and I was gonna put a question out whether people would prefer to hear it more like a live album, more like a live, or maybe more like a live album that's had some additional mixing done just to clean it up, or whether people are interested in a full-on studio thing. Obviously, if it's a full-on studio thing, it takes longer. So my instinct is I'd rather just treat it as a live album and get it out so people can have a hard copy of it, probably on CD, because the wait times for vinyl at the moment are massive.
I understand.
And then if everyone decides at some point, or if there's demand enough for a full kind of studio version, then maybe that happens. So, but yeah, there are definite plans. I've started working on that. But you know, it's a case of limited bandwidth. I'm kind of doing this on my own or with a couple of people. And so the first thing was obviously to get all the material and the concerts done. And then I will start immediately looking into ways and probably reaching out to the community to see what people would like. And then, you know, hopefully some form of album in the early part of next year, and probably an actual live streamed concert of all of them together.
All right.
And some additional material, and possibly some guest artists. But I don't think I've got the internet bandwidth to do that from my garden. So we'll have to figure that out, a venue that's got, you know, decent internet, and hopefully, you know, we won't be on such a lockdown where we can do it safely and distanced, but a little more safely. So for sure, an album as soon as I can do it, and and a full-length live streamed concert early next year.
Wow, so you're gonna perform the songs once again, really live? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
All of them
Cool.
together. That's
Wow.
1 hour or whatever it's
Wow.
going to be. Yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And are there any more plans to do Bon Harris remixes as well? I just saw this. What was it for Patriarchy? This Hell Was Full.
Yeah,
That's really great, a really great remix. I love it.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that really depends on demand. You know, I've been
right.
asked by a couple of people to do remixes for them, and again, it comes down to bandwidth. You know, most of the time I'm working here on my own. Remixes, I tend to, as you could probably hear from the Patriarchy mix, I tend to get a bit involved with them. You know, it's like a reorchestration in some ways. So I need to learn to do more simple remixes. So, but I'm always up for doing them. It's just, you know, we've got several musical projects on the go, and I've also got some animation projects in development. So between all of those things, you know, there's, and social media, of course, it's just every day is very full, you know.
Yeah, understand. All right, so I don't want to steal all your time, and maybe other people want to ask as well. So
Airpad. All right.
Hi
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Just so you guys understand, we're doing plenty of little chunks of Q&A. So if you've got something that doesn't have to do with Lemon Tree, you can ask that one, you know, in the next cycle. Krista Moller, do you have a question about Lemon Tree?
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry. I'm in Slotchke's in Sweetwater, Texas. I stopped here specifically so that I could listen to you guys. I'm heading to El Paso, Dallas for the holidays. I just wanted to tell Bon, this is not about the Lemon Tree, but I just wanted to tell Bon that I had the opportunity to meet him along with my friend Caesar at the Numbers Club the last time they played there a couple of years ago with my friend Caesar. And Caesar sadly passed away last year unexpectedly. And I want Bon to know that Caesar was his biggest fan. And the fact that he got to meet him, especially just a few months before he passed away, I can't tell you how happy that made him. And I just wanted him to know that.
Well, thank you very much. That's an amazing story. And I'm really glad I got to meet Caesar too. That's incredible. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
It's incredible. And
You're
it's
welcome.
also,
And I've got to get off.
Yeah, and it's worth bearing out, you know, as you get into the holiday season, that it can be a difficult time as much as it's time for celebration and you're traveling to meet your family. You know, it also can be really, really tough if you have lost someone, you know, a friend or a family member or even a pet. In some instances, it can be a really tough time of year. So it's nice to remember people with love and with songs and with cheer. So thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. I got to get on the road, but I'm going to keep it on. Hopefully I can still hear when I'm driving, but thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista. Next, I've got Nadia Morganistic. Nadia? Nadia, can you hear us?
Nadia, Earth to Nadia.
Hi. Hey.
Hello.
Do you recognize this guy?
Oh my God.
All right, lovey. All right, sweet. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'll put you over to Nadia. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
hi, Nadia.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. All the
Yeah,
better for seeing you two.
Yeah.
Seeing you two together.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, can we talk about something personal in between?
Talk about whatever you want. There's only like 5
No,
million
just
people
like
watching.
Germany allows couples from different countries to get together. So we got together we didn't see for 300 days and now we're together. So since 2 days
That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, the question was, who was a special friend who inspired you to do the Lemon Tree?
Well, I think you might know who that is, Nadia.
Okay, I wanted to check because here's a story for everybody. I was harassing Bon on his Instagram. Like, first of all, I was like, wow, you can sing, because I only know Nights Arab. By the way, Edhead.
All right, Airbag, here we go. We're off again.
Good call.
Yeah.
And then when I heard him singing by the lemon tree, I was like, wow, you should do an album by the lemon tree, like songs of the lemon tree. And I didn't think he'd make it, but okay, so I just wanted to check.
So yeah, it was indeed Nadia who prompted.
I'm responsible for.
Nadia's to blame for all this.
Sorry, not sorry.
And apparently there's nothing to be sorry about. No, it was an excellent suggestion, and
no, it's lovely. I just love the how you were singing by the tree. It was perfect, and how you made it, and all those versions and the covers, they're really amazing. So
yeah, thank you. And yeah, like as I was explaining, it started as a very simple thing with me just wandering around the garden, but you know, as the lockdown continued and everyone was starved for something, it just felt like a good thing to do, just to be able to, you know, I'm in an extremely fortunate situation here in LA. I've got a beautiful house and a lovely garden to enjoy, and I know that not everyone has, so I just wanted to find a way of sharing a little bit of that with everybody else, you know.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. All right.
So speaking of live performances, Bon, did you want to start off with one of your songs right now?
Yeah, if everyone's ready for a bit of warbling, I'll warble.
I think everyone's excited to hear what, and it's a little more stripped down here. It's kind of cool, as far as your background, nice festive background there.
My festive bookshelf. Yeah. I've got a handbook here on how to speak Essex. It's proper Essex accent. It's a CD that will teach you, and you know, you won't hear this spoken in Brentwood anymore, by the way. You have to travel slightly further afield. Turling, maybe. Tarlin, or wherever they say it in proper Essex. All right, so let's do a song. I'm going to have to take these ears out. So you'll have to gesture with your hands if something's wrong.
Sounds good.
So here we go. Should we not love our neighbor? I should not covet what's not mine, but based on arbitrary borders, we'll make an avenue for strife. For are we not our brother's keeper? So these promises will make. We'll keep sending silver birds to cleanse you with metal rain, to wash away our difference, to purify mistakes. We'll pacify the universe. Peace dance with metal wings. We'll rectify imbalances through territorial gains. And so it's time to face each other through a policy of hate. It's based on race and creed and color. So these liberties will take. For are we not our brother's keeper? So these promises will make. We'll keep sending silver birds to cleanse you
silver birds to cleanse you with metal rain, to wash away our defilements, to purify mistakes, to pacify the universe. Peace does with metal wings, rectify imbalances, for territorial gains. We'll send you our machinery, steel wonders we have made. We'll build a bridge to happiness with infantry brigades. So gather all your children, say, hush now, don't you cry. Turn their bright eyes to the future, their little faces to the skies. It won't cost you anything when there's no more use for words. It's only cooperation. We'll send you flocks of silver Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Phenomenal.
Right.
beautiful.
Oh, that was great,
Awesome.
man. Really
Great.
good.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Sick.
Loved it.
Amazing.
It was awesome.
How did Zoom treat us on the audio?
Oh,
quality?
it sounded,
Superb, Bob. Superb.
sounded very, very good.
Thank you. Oh, good. You never know whether it's going to collapse into a. I was going to say, if we do have any problems, I'll record some versions and we can post them just so that they're clear.
And so, what inspired you to do that song? That's a great performance.
It was the war in mid Europe in the 90s, in the Balkans. Not really any particular stance on it, other than just my incredulity that Europe post World War II could descend into, countries that close to each other could misunderstand each other to the point where they take up arms again, and where you had NATO, sending forces in to keep the peace in mainland Europe in the 20th century, late 20th century. I was just despair, really, and and not really any new themes there, but just the whole idea of the military industrial complex, capitalism, etc., and how exactly was it helping in that situation, or more importantly, how was it not helping in that situation? So that's where that song came from, like a real pick me up, cheerful one. That was back in my shoegazing days. Not that they're over, but
Real quick, Bon, and we could hear that, but your vocal seems to have gone a little quieter, the spoken vocal, after that performance. So I'm not sure if you could boost it a little bit.
It would be nice if I could, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, does this help if I get closer into this microphone?
Yeah,
much better.
very much. Thank you.
Maybe that's it then. All right.
I just want to button real quick and let Bon and Simon know that Surachai has joined the chat.
Here we go. This is gonna descend into an unseemly mess.
Surachai, can you hear us?
I'm here somewhere too.
Oh,
hey! David too as well.
PG, the gang. Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Dangerous.
Hey, Surachai, we can hear you.
Woo!
So if, a lot of people might remember Surachai opened for Naita Ebb this last leg of the last, what was it, 2019 now?
It was 2019, yeah.
I'm still driving around chasing you guys. I'm in South Dakota right now.
Are you?
Wondering where you guys are.
Yeah, well, we're back in the sunny climes of Los Angeles.
Oh, you guys are done? What am I doing?
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing. Do you know what you're doing?
I'm in South Dakota. I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Did you see Mount Rushmore?
No. I'm going to the Badlands, and I'm gonna take care of some business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we know what that means.
All right, so we're.
Oh,
we're
Zach. I just saw Zach, who's on the chat. I think.
Zach.
Beck, who's one of our techs.
Zach Meck, the man, the
Hey,
myth,
what's going
the
on?
legend, the Zach.
Hi,
What's up, guys?
Woo!
Yo, yo, yo.
He's in there somewhere, Sir Joe.
The whole crew is here.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump back to doing a little bit more of the Q&A. And I didn't forget about some of the people who had raised their hands earlier. I've got Concan. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Concan? Concan?
I beg your pardon?
Yes, that's me. That's me. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, you look nice and
yes,
relaxed.
I have a question that's kind of Nights Reb related.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for live performances, and I caught you guys in Barcelona exactly 1 year ago, more or less, and it was a very, very good gig. And I just wanted to ask Bon, where is the most crazy audience that you have met? In what city do you expect to meet the most crazy audience every time?
Normally somewhere Mexico, South America. You know, we've had some crazy ones in Chile, in Peru, Argentina. Just a lot of passion down there, and yeah, just absolutely off the hook. I mean, not to exclude anyone else, because the gigs are have got a different intensity in different areas, but yeah, just in terms of going absolutely nuts, then yeah,
I can imagine.
The South American audiences, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because my observation is that if you go to the south, I have only seen you guys in Europe, and down in the south of Europe, it's always a pretty crazy atmosphere, and I can only imagine how it is in South America. My husband is from Venezuela, so I can imagine how the temperature is at the gigs.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. It's always very.
Thank you very much for your answer, Bon. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Next we have. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ask. So, jumping off of that, so Bon, obviously on the World Violation Tour, you guys played such massive stadiums on a couple of the shows, like Dodger Stadium and I think Giant Stadium. What were were those the largest you ever played with Depeche Mode? I'm guessing, but what were the largest gigs you played with Nights of Reb? Like any kind of festivals that were large stadium scale events, or?
Yeah, I mean, you know, any of the kind of festival events tend to be pretty huge. I've no idea actually what the largest number of people we've played to in our own right. I don't know if festivals qualify even, but yeah, we've done some pretty big ones. But the you know, Giant Stadium and Dodgers were it's just nuts, you know, sort of walking out on that stage, especially with the Giant Stadium one, because our entire system crashed several times during the show, and that was a full house. There were 75,000 people watching us, well, fail essentially. You know? I mean, we retraced our steps and got it going again, but there was a few uncomfortable moments there.
Zach is blushing now.
So since the Dodger Stadium went well, what was that feeling like?
Sorry?
Since Dodger Stadium went well, what was the feeling like at that performance?
It was amazing, actually. It was if not the end of the tour, then it was very close to the end of the tour, and so there was a little bit of that kind of feeling. It was beautiful weather. We'd been introduced to Tony Hawk along the way. And so we were kind of looking forward to having a few days off and being able to hang out and indulge our skateboarding passions, you know, a little bit of off the job sort of relaxation. So it was amazing. It really was. And yeah, electronic played. So that was like another bonus. So there was just a good feeling, you know, like a job well done. Everyone was happy. Yeah, it was... you know, it's kind of once in a lifetime experience, those sorts of things. Well, except it was 3 nights, so thrice in a lifetime.
That's great. Thank you. Go for it, Atusa. Go ahead. Back to you.
All right. So next we've got Mark.
Mark. Hello, Mark.
Oh, don't do that to me. I'm just preparing the questions. Hey, Bon, all right.
Hello, Mark. All right. How are you?
mate, me and a few friends, we're in St. Albans in the UK, a long way away from the delights of where you are.
Right.
And we love it. We were, the last one was, I think, Village Underground. You played. I think it was just before lockdown. Small gig. They were talking about, the guys there were talking about big gigs, but mate, that small gig was just wonderful. And before that, I think it was Electro Works, about a year before we saw you guys. And I've got a T-shirt. Look, I've got a
Yeah,
T-shirt.
look at that. Like it.
Happy
Lovely.
days, yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
So my mate Duncan, who's a huge fan, and he's huger than me. I love you guys. He says, "Why the FFF don't you play I Give to You on your set list?"
Well, because I assume he's talking about in the recent 2019 run. Because we decided to rework all the stuff, and Dave and Simon joined us, and we had a specific way of wanting to do it. Some songs we weren't sure how well some of the older songs fitted in the flow of the set when we started. And then when we first order of business was to find a set that flowed really well. And that just didn't necessarily happen to be one of the ones that was in our first batch. And then we were getting around to it basically towards the end of, like, looking at the songs that we hadn't done and that people had requested. And we did start to work on a version. And then, of course, everything came to a grinding halt. So it was in the works. It definitely was in the works. But yeah, it's one of those songs that really needs careful thought to redo it, because there's so many really characteristic sounds and parts in it. As much, it's a tough thing to do, because you don't want to just keep doing it exactly the same way, or we don't, at least. We want to bring something new, but you don't want to disappoint people, when they're used to hearing it a certain way. So it's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I hear what he's saying, and we all hear what he's saying, and we were starting to work on it. So hopefully when there's a bit more light at the end of the tunnel of all this business we're going through, then we'll get back to that, and a few others too, actually.
Yeah, we've just gone into, like, you might have heard, the UK, well, especially London, whatever's just got into massive lockdown now. So ain't no chance coming here.
No, not yet. And LA's the same, to be honest. We've just gone into more lockdown measures. So it's a weird time, there's we won't dwell on this too much, because we're obviously all well aware of what's going on. But it's one of those strange times where there are vaccines beginning to appear. At the same time, in LA, bed capacity is zero. So it's a weird time. You got to be very careful.
So, sorry, Bon, just one little question. Rob mentioned the big gigs. How do you find? I mean, literally, Village Underground and Electro Works were tiny, weren't they? They were tiny, intimate gigs. And I've been to see Depeche Mode a lot. O2, and I saw you guys at the O2 supporting DM. I think it was, I can't remember now, Playing the Angel, or I can't remember what gig it was.
Right.
But those little gigs are just bloody brilliant, mate. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, we love them too. I mean, as the challenge often in those places is, because they're small, they haven't got as much financial backing. So sometimes the sound systems are a little bit difficult sometimes, or perhaps a little bit run down. But there's some that what you're going into, and you just work with it. But I love them too. It's nice to keep your feet on the ground like that. It was really weird that the last time the Ebb toured with Depeche, because we were kind of piggybacking our own tour off the back of it in places. And so it's weird, you just go from something like the O2 to like a tiny little place in Budapest where the crowd was almost at eye level, And but I like them all, and sometimes those smaller gigs, I mean, that's how every band starts. So it's good to get back to that and just mix it up and get stuck in.
Cheers, Bond. To have you 10 foot away, mate, was superb. Thanks very much. Enjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mark. Rob just posted a link for anyone who needs a tutorial on how to raise your hand. I'm gonna take a couple more questions, and we're going to do the first winner for the poster prize,
All right.
the Ebhead poster prize. Cheers.
Good call.
All right, we've got you, Larry. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Thank you. Okay, so first of all, it's a good cover of Ice Machine.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, so the song Lightning Man, the lyrics where it goes, Daddy, come to baby, baby, come to daddy.
Yeah.
What were like the meaning behind those lyrics?
Well, a lot of I mean, Doug would be more of a person to direct that to, but a lot of that song came from us wandering about the streets in DC, and kind of how at that point DC was a fairly rough place. So there was a lot of drug dealing and prostitution and so on and so forth. So yeah, so it was the whole song's really kind of inspired by being in one of those very shaky urban environments, and
The shaky part of the town.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's basically what inspired that track.
All right. Thanks, man. And good seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you too, man. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Larry. I'm just gonna pop in with one of the winners for the Ebhead poster. If you got Mike in Seattle, please say something so people can see the poster behind you. There you are.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Wonderful
So
posters.
little backstory. These have been in my possession / collection since 1991.
Wow.
I've been carting these things around, and this was the perfect occasion to share a couple.
Beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of people that can't get rid of those, Mike.
What real quick, one thing while I'm on it is I worked at a record store at the time, and we did a whole big display for Ebhead, and I made that yellow grid pattern. I made like this big paper thing that went all over like the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And when we were done in the shop with it, I took it home. It was in the entryway of my room for years and years. And I don't think it actually came down until I moved out of my parents' house.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mike. So we did a random draw this morning, and I hope you are here. But the first winner is Stacy Lynch. Stacy, are you here? Stacy,
I'm here.
Yay! Stacy!
Congratulations.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Really good. Really good. Thank you.
Congrats, Stacy. Can we go on to our next song, please, Bond?
Yeah, are we ready for another song?
Let's go.
All right, let me take my ears out. Just getting the fingers warmed up. All right, here we go. He said confidently. Pack up all my cares and woes. Here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is she. Bye, bye, blackbird.
those hard luck stories, they all have me. So make my bed and light the light. I'll be home late tonight. Blackbird, bye-bye. Pack up all my cares and woes. Here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is she. Bye, bye, blackbird. Well, no one here can love nor understand me. Oh, all those hard luck stories, they all have me. So make my bed and light the light. I'll be home late tonight. Blackbird,
All right.
All right.
Great.
Wow.
So good.
Beautiful.
Wow, that was so beautiful.
I could listen to a whole album of
Loved
that.
it.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Nice job.
That style also feels like very festive holiday music style too.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too, Rob. Like the only kind of festive I can really get into. So
That's cool.
Amazing.
And again, thanks again for doing this. As you know, discussed earlier with the lockdowns, this is like a whole different world that we're here and be able to share this all together. So it's just like a great distraction. So thanks.
Hooray
again.
for lockdown, Rob. Hooray for lockdown. We wouldn't be here otherwise.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, I was concerned that we were getting a bit close to the holidays, but maybe we should have done it later and just done it as a Christmas show.
This is great. So as it is, and talking about Mike's poster, it brought back a story that I wanted to share real quick. That I was in the Orange Circle. I live in the city of Orange, and our downtown we have a lot of antique shops, and I found this promo picture that I took to one of the shows at the Galaxy Theater, and Bon and Doug signed it. But I told you guys about the picture being bought at the antique shop, and of course Doug comes back, well, we are a couple of antiques.
He's right. He is absolutely 100% correct. Oh dear.
So Atusa, we have a queue going still. Do you have the next person up?
I do. Somebody logged in as Bon, B-O-N, asked a question. in the chat, but I'm not sure. Excuse me.
It
If-
wasn't me.
And no, I know it wasn't you. Bon, are you here with us? B-O-N, Bon. Maybe not. I'll come back anyway.
I have had to ask myself questions quite often.
Now's your dance.
Frequently. I'm frequently taking myself off into the corner to have a word with myself. That's for sure.
That's healthy.
Well, the funny thing is, we let that guy in the before the show started, actually thinking it was you.
Thinking it was you. I'm like, wait a second. I don't think that's him.
That reminds me. I was when I used to live in Hollywood. I was walking down to the 7-Eleven on Franklin Avenue, and because that's where I used to go and get a 6-pack of beer on a Friday night, because that's all I could afford. And this car pulled up next to me, and the guy ran the window down. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. I've been waiting forever to meet you. You're my musical hero." And he pulled into the parking lot. He's like, "Moby, could you sign this for me?" I was like, okay, I think you got the wrong bloke.
That's hilarious.
All right, our next question is from Sanjita.
Hi, it's Sangeeta actually.
Sangeeta, I'm so
Sangeeta,
sorry.
That's
how are
okay.
you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Bon?
I'm very good. I feel like I know you already.
From my Instagram, yeah.
Indeed. It's
So
good. It's
my-
nice to see you.
You too, likewise. And hi to my fellow fan devotees here too. I've already chatted with a few of them. So my question is it's slightly redundant at this point because you just sang that Nina Simone song. But my question, and then I have a comment. My question is there is there another artist outside of the industrial post-punk, genre that has given you inspiration to create the music you do today? And if so, who is that artist? And then my comment is, I have to say, like, I'm a late bloomer with Nicer Ebb, and I have Sean Salo, whose Instagram handle is Ebhead, by the way. So we should also cheers, Ebhead.
Well familiar, yeah.
And Carrie, who's here on Norbox, and they brought me to see you guys in New York and Brooklyn. And I don't remember dancing that. Sorry, that's my phone. Dancing that hard at a show. I had the time of my life. I had so much fun. So I just wanted to say that comment. But anyway,
good.
There's my question and my comment. So
right. So many artists outside of the industrial and electronic realm. I mean, the list is just endless. James Brown is a huge influence. Duke Ellington, and probably more accurately, Billy Strayhorn, who did a lot of Ellington's arrangements. He's incredible. So many classic female singers. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald. It's probably there's not a singer on the planet who hasn't been influenced by Ella Fitzgerald, whether they know it or not. Billie Holiday, of course, Anita O'Day, Sarah Vaughan, Julie London. Chet Baker from the male side of things, Fats Domino. I mean, the list is endless. I mean, that was something about, when we were all growing up in Essex, that the group of friends that we had, including Dave and Simon that are on now, and Doug and a bunch of us, we were never really restricted to one style of music. Our influences came from everywhere, and we listened to everything, swing music, 50s rockabilly, classical, orchestral, piano music, and that's just a healthy thing to do. It just keeps Essex Boys Unite is right. So it just keeps I think as in life in general, as much cultural exposure that you can have, the better it is. It's going to make you a more rounded person, and it's going to make your particular the dish that you serve up have a lot of different spices in it. So it's always a good thing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I've got Jeff from Albany, Oregon.
Hi, Bon. Nice to see you again. I met you along with Rob at the Galaxy a while back.
All right. Nice to see you too, man.
Yeah. Do you possibly think that Martin Gore copied your song format for your song Time to create Depeche Mode's song Rush? 'Cause it's kind of similar in a way.
I don't think Martin really needs to copy anyone, to be honest, least of all us. So I don't know. I mean, I think with any song, kind of like what we were just saying earlier, any songwriter is going to absorb the influences and the things that they're listening to. So who knows, you know, maybe some of that comes out. And, you know, when we're dealing with Western tonal music, there's only 12 notes anyway, and only a certain amount of ways you can combine them. And when you're dealing with pop music in particular, or you know, song-based structures, there's only so, you know, it's going to have some verses, a couple of choruses, and a bridge part, you know. So you're dealing with finite things. So you know, there's bound to be similarities between certain things. But as with everything, it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. And you know, in that sense, we all know that Martin's, you know, impeccable in that, and you know, one of the great songwriters of our age. So yeah, he's got plenty in his duffel bag without having to take anything out of ours. That's for sure.
I always have to come up with a question about Rush in here because it's kind of a tradition now for me. So,
Okay, good.
What is your
Yeah,
favorite
thank
song
you.
by Depeche Mode?
Me?
Yes.
I mean, it's so tough to say because there's so many of them that cover different periods and different moods. I'm sure all of us here like listen to different Depeche things on different days for different reasons, you know. But I really like Walking in My Shoes. I just think it's such a gorgeous chorus, and I really like the just the arrangement on that. I really love I Feel You. I think that's it's an amazing track. But the other thing is, you know, like because we've toured with them so much and seen them, you know, night after night after night, you've just got so many brilliant memories of almost every one of them. You know, we used to, on the Violator tour, me and Douglas and our tour manager at the time used to go out during Stripped and get a hot dog, you know, from the, like, go out into the actual auditorium, into the stadium, and get a hot dog, you know, and that's when the purple light things used to come down. And that was our thing, where we just go out and gauge, you know, just watch the performance from the front, and you know, yeah, the boys are on tonight. It's a good show, you know. So you know, even just that song alone, I don't know how many cities we went out and got a hot dog and watched Stripped on that tour, but quite a few, and every one of them was just super enjoyable, you know.
Do you have a funny story of hanging out with the band of Depeche Mode?
I mean, a lot of funny stories, and you know, not all of them repeatable, but yeah, I mean, just there's such a, you know, the thing about touring with Depeche is, you know, obviously you all get a sense of they're very real people, you know, and just very honest and approachable, and their crew is like a family when they're on tour. They're not aloof or anything else. So, you know, back in those days, we did quite often have like days off where we'd all go out, like the crew, the band, all of us would go out to a club and have a load of drinks and just dance, and or on days off certain times, you know, we'd all go somewhere. And so, you know, rather than any one memory or another, then it's just a lot of really happy, fun days, and everybody, you know, the crew included, everyone just getting along, and just really, their tours are such a great environment to be in, really uplifting and life affirming things to do.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, I don't want to butcher your name. Is it Yannick or Janik? Yannick?
Hello, I hope you guys can hear me.
We can
Hey,
hear you.
Yannick.
Yeah, hi, Bon. And first of all, thanks a lot for being a big part of the last 37 years of my life, to be honest. I remember seeing you guys for the first time on the Masters tour as support in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Night Rep. It was awesome, and yeah, I think it was January this year I saw you. I guess one of the last concerts before lockdown started.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
awesome as well.
Yeah, it was a great night, really good night.
It was
yeah.
cool night. So thanks a lot for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. You guys have been working with Alan Weidler, obviously producing for you, and I think that was pretty early in in your career. What was the biggest learnings you guys got from working with him? You know, as a fanboy, I'm a fan of you guys, and I'm a big fan of Alan as well. So I mean, could you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the thing that is obvious about Alan is his attention to detail and his classiness, really, not to put too fine a point on it. He's a very sophisticated and classy guy. He's been a musician for a long time, so that's kind of in his blood, and he's got very high standards, and so that was our background coming from Essex was a little bit more punk rock and street level. So I think it was working with Alan that really taught me a lot more about more sophisticated layering of things and more structuring of things. I mean, we specifically wanted Alan to come in for Ebbhead because we were trying to break out from being so minimal, and we did want to get more melodic and more structured. And obviously, Alan and Depeche are a huge role model for taking minimal electronic music and turning it into quite exquisite songs. So that was a big thing that I learned from Alan, was just dealing with sophistication and being he's also a very logical person. And so, being able to approach a song without getting too nervous or too apprehensive about it, and just be very professional, I suppose, about it. And he taught me that in the studio, of just, rather than getting frustrated or worrying that you can't find the musical answer, he taught me to be very calm about it and just be like, look, there's a solution in here somewhere, so let's look for it. I'll have to admit, and I'm sure he would admit, that I wasn't always that calm in the studio with him in the early days. He had to calm me down sometimes. But and also he kind of he was responsible for me going back to college in early 2000s to learn music theory, because I never had. I just started as a punk rock kid and just picked up a synth and started going for it. And he was one of the people that convinced me that, like, like, music theory doesn't necessarily give you any answers. It just gives you options when you've got questions that you can explore in a fairly step-by-step manner. And that's why he was so calm and in control of things, so that taught me a lot.
Cool. Thank you. I have another question as well, actually, or suggestion, you could say. After seeing you guys in Copenhagen in January, I have seen your last show, I think 3 times or so. Saw Markthalle as well. Markthalle and Göteborg in Sweden, and what I was thinking of was if it could be an idea to release some of the new versions in either, like you suggested with Lemon Tree, in a kind of a like live recording versions, or maybe a studio take or whatever. But I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that is hungering for new Nitro Ebb as well. And I actually think that the club versions are awesome, especially the mixing of them where they flow into each other and all of that.
Yeah, we again, lockdown sort of brought all of us to a screeching halt, but we'd had a lot of questions. Is there going to be new Nitro Ebb material, etc., etc.? And we'd discussed it amongst ourselves, and we just felt that, like, there's so much more still in the original ones, especially the later ones we were talking about that we did with Alan, where there's so many layers you could strip a lot of those layers off and do 5 or 6 different versions of each of those songs, and they would still be really good versions. Even some of the tracks off of Belief and so on that weren't actually so layered. There's other versions in them. So, you know, one of the things that we discussed was doing kind of like a John Peel sessions sort of thing, where we maybe we go in a studio so the sound quality would be good, and then we'd perhaps pick 4 classic tracks, but then have each of us in the band, because Doug DJs as well, so there's ways of creative DJing, and Dave and Simon on the synths, and each of us kind of, you know, we'd start off as a group, you know, playing the tune, more familiar with how people are, but then each person would take a turn to just improvise a bit within that tune and based on the themes of that tune, but new sounds. And I'm not going to use the word jam around Simon Granger because you know you can't, but something like a jam session, a controlled jam session where there are different interpretations within one arrangement. So each song would be an extended mix, and you know, maybe a series of EPs like that would be really interesting. And I think that's more interesting to us as a group of performers, is to do them that way.
Cool. One last thing then, and I will let you move on to someone else. One last thing. You mentioned previously Daniel Meyer. I know him from working with him earlier on a remix he did for us. I was just curious if have you considered doing anything collaboration or anything with him? You have played live, where he have been supporting you several times with both Howjob and Architect and Liebknecht. So I was just wondering if you considered some working together. Or
I've been harassing Daniel all year to let me sing on some of his. He sent me some songs in the beginning of the year. Actually, Daniel suggested it when he was one of the reasons why I started doing the Lemon Tree stuff. And he did mention that that he had some material that he might be interested in me singing on, and we've been talking about that all year, and we just started talking about it again recently because obviously we've all been busy. So we're getting back to it, and once I get this weekend out of the way, because it's been a busy musical weekend, then Daniel and I'm going to make Daniel talk to me. That's what's going to happen. So yeah, we have talked about it, and we're plotting, we're scheming now.
Looking forward to that then.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Bon.
Nice meeting you too.
Thanks. And those are great questions. And I just want to mention this for going forward, just because we are limited on time. If you could limit your questions to one, just so that if everybody has a question, we can get through their questions. And if you've already asked a question, we'll come back if there's time at the end and ask questions that you've already asked, if someone that's already asked a question, you know. So
Mark's not happy.
And Bon, with that, did you want to play another song?
Sure, I'll play a song anytime you like.
All right, let's do it.
Right, so not every, in the course of selecting the tracks for the Lemon Tree, I went through quite a few different ones, and sometimes songs just didn't fit. They were good songs, but they just didn't quite fit in the set. So a couple didn't make the cut. Nothing to do with the quality of the songs or the band. In fact, this one that I'd like to sing now is a fantastic song by one of the greatest bands of the late 20th, early 21st century. So here's one of the tracks that didn't make it onto the Lemon Tree, but I'm delighted to do it now.
Yes.
Awesome. Wow, wow, wow.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Excellent.
Awesome, Radiohead.
Love it.
Really nice.
Bond. So
That was
being,
beautiful.
being a very electronic musician, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on hearing Kid A for the first time from Radiohead.
Yeah, like I say, I just think Radiohead, you know, and they may be a bit of an obvious choice to venerate for some people, but for me, it's for good reason. I mean, just probably, you know, since Depeche, the band that I respect most for taking conventional song structures and, you know, pop writing and just knocking it out of the park and making it an art form again. And also I think just the knack of writing songs for their time, songs that express in some ways like kind of like Martin does as well, like kind of mundane things in everyday life that would be easy to overlook but are really actually quite striking and quite important when you think about it. So so yeah, I mean, Kid A, OK Computer. I actually didn't listen to OK Computer for quite a long time because everyone was raving about it, and I wanted to just let the fuss die down and listen to it in its own light. And so I kind of came late to that one, but yeah, I've got a huge amount of respect for them, and Tom's just a knockout singer. So I always love listening to him. It's impossible not to be moved when you hear him sing. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Atusa, who do we have next in the queue?
I'd like a question.
All right, go on then. I think you've earned one at this point.
I think I've earned one.
Are you allowed?
I hope
Just
all of them are
just
allowed.
one
You're
though.
absolutely
Just
allowed.
one though.
Okay. Well, my whole reason for really wanting to do this, I mentioned it earlier, was the whole like 1990 Violator and Showtime coming out both. I believe they both came out in March of 1990. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That was a huge part of my life. You guys were the first act I ever saw live opening up for Depeche Mode. I think I was
Right.
12 years old when that happened.
Amazing.
My husband also, I think he was 14 when you guys first played on a John Peel episode, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah.
it was for us a huge inspiration. I was wondering, do you remember what yours was way back when, 12, 13, 14? What were you jumping on a bed, singing into a comb or something? What was that for you?
I mean, real early on, it was David Bowie and Mark Bolan, courtesy of my brother, actually, who was a big fan and kind of introduced me to all that. And of course, the music was amazing, but it was also as much like the outfits and the makeup and the drama. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm having some of that. And then and the actual first sort of real alternative gig that I went to was Adam and the Ants at Chelmsford Odeon. I was when I first got into alternative music, I was still a bit young to get into gigs that were serving alcohol, and I looked it too. So Dave always could get in because he looked older, but I couldn't. I was always band entry. So Adam and the Ants was one of the first ones, and yeah, what an amazing gig that was.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Miss Patty Vargas Patu from Louisiana.
All right.
Hi, Bon.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well, thank you. I'm so happy to meet you.
Likewise.
And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Atusa and Rob, for making it happen. You guys are great. Well, I just had a couple of comments. First, I was really impressed with your performance last night. It was unbelievable. I had to ask the question if you did everything. You were singing, you're playing the xylophone, you're programming your instrument. And I was like, did he really do that all by himself? Like, oh my God, like that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, over the years of producing records, you get used to doing a lot yourself, and because of Night's Red, but for a lot of the time we were a 2-person band. So Doug sang and I did a lot of the music. So I was kind of used to that. So when it's a case of stepping up to do the singing as well, then it's just a little bit extra that you have to do. And I've done periods of time where I've done like film and TV composing and things like that, so I'm used to having to create a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of work, and I've studied a lot of music and a lot of instruments over the years, so I enjoy doing it, but it is time consuming, that's for sure.
I would imagine the preparation time is quite a bit. I mean, but it was very impressive to see that you did it on such a high quality of work, the output, it was amazing. And
Thank you.
to see also the broad range, you were singing the falsettos and everything, and just, it was amazing. I mean, I had heard about you first, Nights of Reb, actually, when I was clubbing in New York in Limelight, and just, I was mentioning to a few friends, that you could be drunk off your butt or high as a kite, or even asleep somewhere in a like a house party or something. I know it's getting a little after dark, but as soon as you put on a Nights of Reb, everyone will wake up and just start, dancing and just, it would just rock the house.
Yeah, we've always had that. I mean, we came from quite a sleepy town, and in some ways a little bit of a repressive one. If you're a little bit different or were trying to do your own thing, you'd get ridiculed and picked on, like you do in a lot of environments. So I think we were all naturally fairly passionate people anyway, and then just that environment sort of made us feel like a sense of occasion. Like, if you're going to do it, then do it, like really do it and celebrate it, and just throw your heart and soul into it. And so that's where a lot of that came from, and I agree with you. I've seen people respond to that energy, and some of the comments that I got last night, it was just, people were talking about the energy and the soul in some ways, and those are the type of artists and creators and individuals that have always inspired us, of people with a lot of soul and a lot of spirit, and we've always tried to carry that on. So I'm glad that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I just had one little other comment to say, in that I was there at the Giant Stadium, and I didn't really notice too much of a problem with the sound, but I did have one question. It's like a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Was Trent Reznor there at your show? Or Nine Inch Nails?
I can't remember if Trent was at that show, but he's been at a lot of them. Yeah.
Yes. So Rob, it could have been that he was there. I don't know.
I think Trent was on tour on his own stuff going at that time, but we'll look it up.
Possibly. Yeah.
I do have a follow-up to Patty's question, actually.
Yeah.
So she mentioned about, you doing that all yourself. So in Reb, is your role all of the backing music, or does Doug have a say in that as well? Or does he just add the vocal melodies and the lyrics afterwards? Or
I mean, we work together, so Doug's got the patience of a saint, so that when we're working on an idea, he'll sit there with a notebook and scribble things down and listen. But yeah, I mean, I'm generally the one that's hands-on with the technology and with the musical stuff. So if you want to break it down broadly, then yeah, Doug's been lyrics, vocals, and I've been music and sound design. But it's not exclusive, and that also doesn't take into account the role of people like Flood, Alan, Daniel. But in a broad sense, yeah, and in a lot of projects that I've gone on to do since then, yeah, I've been kind of like the music guy, if you like.
Great, thank you.